For decades, Argentina has been a cautionary tale, a country richer than many European nations in the early 20th century, blessed with natural resources, fertile land, and human capital, reduced to chronic inflation, capital flight, currency collapse, and permanent crisis. And now, for the first time in generations, Argentina has elected a president who openly says the quiet part out loud. Socialism destroyed this country, and it must be dismantled at the root. Javier Milei did not come to power promising gradual reform. He came promising rupture. And to understand how Milei intends to cleanse Argentina of socialism, you must first understand what socialism looks like in practice. Not theory, not slogans, but lived economic reality. Argentina's socialism was not a single event. It was a system built over decades. Massive public spending, rigid labor laws, price controls, currency manipulation, state monopolies, and a political culture that treated inflation as normal and deficits as virtue. The state became the center of economic life. Productivity became secondary. Dependency became permanent. Milei's plan begins with a fundamental principle that shocks Argentine politics. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem. The first pillar of Milei's strategy is monetary discipline. Argentina's inflation problem is not psychological, it is structural. Decades of money printing to finance deficits destroyed trust in the peso. Milei understands that as long as politicians control the printing press, inflation will return. That is why his agenda includes eliminating the central bank entirely or rendering it powerless. This is not symbolism. It is an attempt to remove the political incentive to inflate. By dollarizing or severely restricting monetary discretion, Milei aims to impose an external constraint on the state. Inflation cannot exist without monetary expansion. Remove the tool, and you remove the disease. This is the most radical and controversial part of his agenda, and also the most intellectually consistent. The second pillar is fiscal shock therapy. Argentina does not suffer from insufficient taxation, it suffers from excessive spending. Milei's plan is brutally simple. Cut ministries, eliminate subsidies, reduce public employment, and slash deficits immediately. No gradualism, no excuses. The belief is that slow reform always fails, because vested interests adapt and sabotage change. This is where Milei breaks completely from Argentina's political tradition. Previous governments promised reform while expanding the state. Milei openly says that pain is unavoidable, and postponing it only makes collapse worse. The third pillar is deregulation. Argentina's economy is suffocated by rules that protect insiders and punish outsiders. Labor laws discourage hiring, price controls destroy supply, import restrictions reduce competition. Milei's approach is to remove barriers so markets can function again, not to favor corporations, but to restore incentives. In Milei's view, socialism did not fail because it was poorly implemented. It failed because it violates basic economic reality. Prices are information. When the state manipulates them, it blinds the economy. Deregulation is not ideological, it is functional. The fourth pillar is privatization. Argentina still carries the weight of inefficient state-owned enterprises that drain public resources. Milei intends to privatize aggressively, not to enrich the state temporarily, but to permanently remove political control from economic activity. State companies become tools of patronage. Private companies must survive by serving customers. This is not about selling assets, it is about changing the logic of the economy. Another critical front is culture. Milei understands that socialism survives not only through policy, but through belief. For decades, Argentines were taught that markets are immoral, profit is exploitation, and the state is protector. Milei confronts this narrative directly. He speaks openly about individual responsibility, merit, and the moral legitimacy of capitalism. This cultural confrontation is essential. Without it, reforms collapse under emotional resistance. Argentina's problem was never lack of intelligence, it was ideological capture. Milei also intends to open Argentina to the world. Protectionism isolated the country and reduced competitiveness. Trade barriers shielded inefficiency. By embracing openness, Milei aims to expose the economy to reality. This is painful in the short term, but necessary for long-term growth. Critics argue Milei's plan is too extreme, too fast, too disruptive. But Milei's counter-argument is simple. Argentina already tried gradualism. It failed. It tried Keynesian stimulus. It failed. It tried price controls. It failed. What remains is honesty. For Americans watching from afar, Milei's experiment is more than a foreign curiosity. It is a real-world test of whether a deeply socialist economy can reverse course without collapse. It asks a dangerous question. What happens when a society finally admits that redistribution cannot replace production? Milei does not promise comfort. He promises the truth. He does not promise equality. He promises opportunity. And above all, he promises to remove the state from places where it never belonged. Cleansing. Argentina of socialism does not mean eliminating compassion. It means eliminating illusions. It means accepting that wealth must be created before it can be shared, that money must be earned before it can be spent, that dignity comes from productivity, not dependency. Argentina's path under Milei will not be smooth. There will be resistance, there will be protests, there will be fear. But there is also something Argentina has not felt in decades, a coherent economic philosophy. Whether Milei succeeds or fails, one thing is already clear. Argentina is no longer pretending. It is no longer hiding behind slogans. It is confronting the cost of socialism head-on. And for a country that has lived in denial for generations, that alone is revolutionary.